The most important basketball life lessons. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Street Ball Strategy.
Games in the park, skills on display. One-on-one hustle every single day. Respect earned on the grind, making you stay. Brotherhood formed, hard work the only way.
Today we're talking about the most important life lessons that you can learn from basketball. And this is one of my most favorite general kind of basketball topics because it transcends just the sport in the game and can then be used in all, if not other aspects of your life. Many casual sports fans or basketball fans, they usually underrate this aspect of the game. To them, they look at sports, and sports is kind of just a vehicle to it's a vehicle for your hobby. It's a vehicle to sort of waste some time here and there. Maybe you get into a little bit of good physical condition. Maybe it's a way to sort of mentally and emotionally decompress, but that's about as far as they take it. They don't really look at sports or basketball as a way to build life principles that are going to help you for the rest of your life. So today we're going to talk about what I think are the biggest life lessons you can take away from the game of basketball. Probably the most common life lesson people associate with sports and basketball is that of teamwork. Being a good teammate and working well with others. One of the biggest aspects of playing a team sport is learning how to be a good teammate. And one of the primary functions of being a good teammate is working together for a common goal so that you can be successful. Learning how to do that from a young age through sports can be invaluable as you get older in life. Learning how to coexist with a stranger, like somebody you've never met before, and especially if that person turns out to have like a personality that doesn't really jive with who you are and what you're about, learning how to work with them towards a common goal and be successful at doing that anyway, even though you necessarily might not like that person, can be very valuable as you get into the adult workplace. And it's just valuable for society in general because there's going to be plenty of people that you encounter just out in the real world that you don't really know or like, and they don't really like you, but yet and still you can still know and understand how to work towards the common goal of just being a general good person, like coexisting with that person, not causing any problems, not being a part of any drama with that person. Even though you guys may not like each other, you can still be polite and be a good decent society to each other and just get along, even though you're not really cool with each other. The earlier you learn how to do that, especially through sports, the more valuable that can be. When you compare basketball to the other major sports in America, especially like baseball or football, when we talk about basketball teamwork, on the basketball court, regardless of what position you play on your team, everybody sort of does the same thing all at once. So if you're on defense, you're all kind of playing the same physical defense as everybody else. Strategically, you're still all on the same page defensively, and physically, you're all doing pretty much physically the same thing as your teammate. Same thing for offense, but in other sports, baseball, football, your teammates, they have different positions that do different stuff than the stuff that you're doing, whether it be offensively or defensively. So for instance, in football, if you're an offense, like a lineman has a different obligation and set of skills to be performing than a tight end or a wide receiver or the quarterback. Like, you're all on the same team and you're all working towards the same goal, but you have very different ways that you interact with the team. You're not all doing pretty much the same stuff. Now, you could make the argument that because, like in football, you have different positions that do radically kind of different things, then that makes you even more of a team player. And I'm not here to make that assertion. I'm certainly not here to, say what's a better team sport. I'm just saying that a lot of times you don't think of it, people think basketball is like the least sort of teamwork, team-esque kind of sport because it can be very individualistic. Like you can see LeBron James and the general person on the street who doesn't have anything to do with sports or basketball, they know who LeBron James is. They know that name, but they don't know any of his teammates because in basketball, it's very individualistic. The star of the team stands out so much more than the rest of his teammates. in other sports that doesn't really happen except for like the quarterback position in football. But you could make the argument that because in basketball, you're all I guess probably in hockey, the same thing. If you're doing the same thing as your teammate is at the same time that they're doing it, that could be, argued to be like that's kind of the ultimate way to play a team sport. Like, you're all doing the same thing at the same time. You don't just have your little component of what you do over here and what your teammate does over here, and then you just have to hope that your teammate does their aspect of the game as well as you're doing your aspect of the game, and then hopefully the teamwork just sort of comes together. When you're on the basketball court, you're all doing the same stuff at the same time, so you know immediately if that stuff is working. So when we talk about teamwork with basketball, you have to keep in mind, like, you can immediately sort of know and be aware of if your teammate is actually doing their job and actually helping you immediately as you're witnessing them doing it. And since you know that and you're aware of it, you can immediately hold them accountable for their part of the teamwork. That's a good skill to know and to have to learn, because going forth in life, when you need sort of immediate teamwork in whatever setting, environment you find yourself in, if you know how to do that in a proper kind of respectful way, then you can immediately get the kind of teamwork you need out of people around you who may not have grown up playing sports. You can sort of coach that teamwork out of them because they don't really know how to do it because they never experienced it through sports, but you did through basketball, so you can kind of immediately teach them, okay, here's what I need you to do, how I need you to do it, and you can get the kind of good results that you need out of them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And it's kind of the most relatable aspect of life lesson you can learn through a sport. So that's why teamwork is, thought of so commonly when it comes to life lessons involving sports and basketball. The second biggest life lesson in basketball to me comes to the point of being coachable, being able to be taught how to do something the most efficient and effective way possible. If you play organized sports, organized basketball, you have no choice but to experience that. Now, me myself, I didn't really play organized basketball. I kind of had to teach myself, but I think that's kind of, it speaks to my progress as a basketball player, because not only did I have to learn how to play, but I also had to coach myself how to do it. And I could have been easy on myself. I could have made that mistake and thought to myself like, oh, I'm already better than I actually am. But instead, I made sure to go out of my way to criticize myself harder than I probably actually was. So I was harder on myself than I probably needed to be, but I felt that was the way to go, because to me, it's better to be harder on yourself than you need to be than not as hard as you should be. But most basketball players, they grow up in the organized circuit, so they're taught, coached from a very early age how to do what they need to do on a basketball court. Usually that results in a lot of drills and workouts, because when you're talking about like a coach or a group of 2 or 3 coaches trying to teach basketball to a group of 15, 20 kids at a time, the most effective way to do that is to teach them how to do a drill or a workout and then just put them through those drills and workouts. Not only is that sort of the most time efficient way to do it, but drills and workouts are the best way to learn how to do a new skill. And when we're talking about being coachable, we're talking about learning how to do new stuff for the first time from someone who already knows how to do it, and they're trying to teach you the best way to do it for the experience that you have at the time. And a lot of times you get criticized for not doing the thing, the drill, the workout, whatever it may be. You get criticized for not doing it as well as they showed you, taught you, told you how to do it. And some people just naturally don't take well to that criticism, especially if you're just like a young kid for the first time learning something that's supposed to be fun, and then you have a coach that's criticizing you for not doing a drill or workout as well as they thought you would. A lot of kids can take that criticism to heart and be disheartened by it. But part of coaching and part of being coached up and coaching your players around you to get better the way you want them and the way they expect to be is like you do it in a way where they know they're being criticized, but yet and still they're going to continue to work to get better. And some kids, they just can't take it. They can't take the criticism at all, and they just give up. And that's just the way it goes. But for those of us that kind of stick around and can take the criticism and we get better over time because of it, that's how you get coached up. And the better you get at that, the more you can learn, the better you can get. That's why being coached up is so important. And of course, that doesn't just go for sports or basketball, that goes for the rest of life. When you become an adult and you get into the workspace and you're around other adults who you're trying to work with in a efficient way to get whatever goal accomplished that you're trying to accomplish, it becomes very easy and clear to see, to recognize like the other adults around you who never got coached up. They never got any kind of coaching whatsoever. But those of us who've been coached up, we know that like that criticism or that correction of like how to do things properly, that's not an attack. That's just your supervisor trying to teach you and show you how to do what you're supposed to do, the best way to do it so that you get towards that goal that much faster. The people that see themselves as like victims of attack of other people, who those people are just trying to help, but they're doing it through criticism, those people are usually the people that have never been coached up, and it becomes pretty easy to assess when you become an adult. So when you're a kid and you're first learning how to play basketball and you're learning from someone who's more experienced than you, and they're teaching you in some kind of form of a coach, if not the actual formal form of a coach, what you're actually doing is you're allowing yourself to be coached, thus teaching yourself how to be coachable. And the more receptive you are to that, the more successful you're just going to be in life, because no matter how successful you become, there's always going to be somebody who's more successful who can teach you how to do what you're trying to do better. And the more receptive you are to that, the better and faster you're going to get there. Lastly, and probably my favorite aspect to a life lesson when it comes to basketball, is that basketball is a meritocracy. And to me, in terms of major American sports, basketball is the meritocracy. Meaning, to me, my experience with basketball is there's nothing more fair in life than basketball. Because as you grow up and as you get more responsibilities, you get more and more familiar with the fact that life just isn't fair. Now, when you're a kid, you hear that expression being thrown around by adults, and so you realize like that must be a part of life that is true. But hopefully if you're a kid and you're lucky enough to be pretty carefree as like a kid and a teenager, once you start to take on the responsibilities of adulthood, having a job, having bills to pay, taxes, all of that kind of stuff, the more you realize like, oh, life is not fair, in that there'll be parts of life where you'll work really hard, you'll try really hard to do something, to accomplish something, and the results just won't happen, maybe at all. They may not happen to the degree of which you expect them, but sometimes they just don't happen at all. Even though you worked so hard, you tried so hard, and it seems like you didn't really get anything out of it. That's the general idea of like how life is not fair. Like something happened to you that, or didn't happen, that in a way where like you expected a certain thing to happen because you behaved a certain way in order for something to happen or not happen, and the opposite ended up happening. That makes you feel like life is unfair, and it's pretty disheartening. But it's my experience with basketball that when you put in the work, the effort with basketball, you actually do receive the progress that you've earned. For example, if you're trying to grow your game and you're surrounded by other players who are pretty much the same talent level that you are, they're pretty much the same experience level, they're pretty much the same size as you are. If you guys are doing pretty much the same stuff, practicing, training, all that kind of stuff to get better, if you put in more work than them, then you just make more progress than them. You get better than them because you're outworking them. That's the way it goes in basketball. In the rest of life, sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't, and there's no real way to tell if that's going, how that's going to work out as you're going through the process. But with basketball, as long as you're pretty much on the same level with everybody, except for you work harder, better, smarter than the people around you, then you just get more results and you get better than them. That's just how basketball works. That's why, to me, it's the fairest aspect that I've ever experienced when it comes to pretty much anything in life. It's a meritocracy. It's based on your merits. The more merits you put in, the more merits you earn. If you earn more merits than the players around you, then you get better results than the players around you. Now, of course, again, it has to be pretty much equal. Like, you can't, if a player is just more talented than you, then they don't need to work nearly as hard as you do. But if you're pretty much even, then if you work harder, then you just get better. That's how basketball works. That's one of the biggest reasons I love it so much. One of the biggest reasons this channel exists is because I really felt like I was born with below average basketball talent. I was born with below average athletic ability than like the average players that you would experience out here. But I was able to get really good at basketball just because I outworked everyone around me. To me, it's like, if I can do that, if I can become a really good basketball player just pretty much through hard work, then yeah, definitely you can do it. And the idea of like, if I can do it, then definitely you can do it, then that's based in the principle of like, what's more fair than that? There's nothing fairer than if you work hard, you get results. Now, as I often say on this channel, those results are never going to come as quickly and as effectively as you want them to happen. Like, you're going to want major results super quick, and that just doesn't happen. But in comparison to any other aspect of life, the results you get in basketball are exactly the results that you earn. Those are the major life lessons that I associate with basketball. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about because I think in terms of basketball, it's very underrated as the way people value this aspect of the game. Like, a lot of people start playing basketball because their friends play basketball or because they want to make the NBA, and so you learn the game, you play the game, like you play the game for 10 plus years, and at the end of it, you kind of just think to yourself, well, I liked that. I like basketball. It was fun. It was a good way to spend time with my friends, and I was able to, make all of this camaraderie with my teammates, and it kept me in pretty good shape. And then that's pretty much, the end of where they think they value it. Whereas you can get so much more out of the game of basketball and team sports if you allow yourself to sort of internalize these life lessons. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, if you found it helpful at all, if you found it interesting, if it helped you to think about like aspects of the game that maybe you never thought about before, then please subscribe to the channel. And let us know down in the comments, what are some of the biggest life lessons that you have learned from basketball, especially ones that like you didn't ever expect to learn. Like, to me, those are some of the funnest lessons you can learn. Like, very valuable lessons about life that you got from the game of basketball that you would have never thought that you would have encountered just learning how to play the game. But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because not only does hitting that thanks button make any comment you make stand out, be highlighted from any other comment, but if you do hit that thanks button, it directly supports the channel. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.
Formed hard work the only way. Clock ticking down, pressure cooker heat. Team synergy, surging, never face defeat. Passing the rock, rhythm in the beat. Victory sweet, the mission complete.